The European Union's future is by no means certain according to those living in EU countries, as a poll suggested most in the bloc believe it will fall apart in 20 years. The EU has endured a chaotic 4 years after the UK decided to leave the bloc and the coronavirus pandemic sparked further economic uncertainty. Talks over the EU's response to the global health crisis have led to big rows, but doubt over the bloc's long-term future have loomed for years. This was highlighted in 2019 when a study found the majority of Europeans think the EU will fall apart within 20 years. This came despite the same study finding that support for the EU was high among voters in member states. Significant proportions of people surveyed also said a war between EU countries was a realistic possibility over the next decade. The survey, conducted by the European Council on Foreign Relations (ECFR) and YouGov, had more than 60,000 respondents across 14 EU member states. In every country except Spain, the majority of voters believe the EU will fall apart within the next 10 to 20 years. In startling statistics for the EU, 58% of respondents in France said it was realistic that the bloc would collapse within 2 decades. Italian and Polish voters were almost as pessimistic, with 57% in both countries giving the same verdict. 40% of Spaniards polled also said the same. More surprising, however, was the number of people in Europe who fear 2 EU member states could engage in conflict with one another. Austrians were most likely to believe a European war was possible, with 38% saying it could happen within 10 years, followed by 35% of French respondents and 31% of Romanians. This fear was particularly high among younger Europeans. For example, 46% of the youngest respondents in France held this view. The report highlighted that this view was common among those supportive of far-right parties. This included Marine Le Pen's National Rally, the Freedom Party of Austria, the Party for Freedom in the Netherlands, Jobbik in Hungary, and Golden Dawn in Greece. The report also stated that many who opposed these parties still thought a European war was possible within 10 years. The survey also indicated that many in Europe, especially younger people, aren't optimistic about their financial prospects. In Greece, more than 70% of people felt they had fewer economic opportunities than people in other European countries, while just over half of respondents in Romania, Spain and Italy believed they had an economic disadvantage. Respondents in Denmark and Sweden were the least likely to hold the same views.